So I did better in revenue, but like that's because like I know how to calculate my taxes. Oh, macro, 100%. Public administration actually. Have you taken 2159? Public finance expenditure. Yeah, but that one's really good. If you care about that, because it'll talk about like how like taxes are invested into healthcare, education. That one's really cool. So that one's taught by Irene Trella, and she goes like off the rails the entire time. But the exams are super easy and all quantitative. No, so it's really good. That one, yeah, it's public revenue expenditure, public finance expenditure. Really, really good. Ask me about econ courses.
It's why he's qualified as president.
Okay, so her second or half in a row.
Okay, so we're gonna start with our core information session. So we're gonna start with our executive reports.
All right. All right, so I'm back. These are our executive reports for the first couple months of our term. So, starting off, first, so we'll start off with.
Point of personal privilege. Can we turn the lights down so we can see?
Oh, Nico. Always working. Oh, whoa. You could do some serious romantic dinners in here. Alright, yeah. So, that's a good picture. So, President portfolio. So just for a bit of context, because I saw other people have it in theirs and I didn't put it in mine. I'll tell you guys a little bit about my role as the president. So I'm sort of the leader of the executive team, and what I do is basically support vice presidents. When I say vice presidents, I mean all four of my executive in their portfolios, and then I also sort of act as like the representative at the table, usually with administration, alongside Kat, usually with external stakeholders, provincially and federally, and mostly municipally as well. Kat usually takes the lead on that, and then with administration, we usually, it depends on the file, we usually take one of us takes the lead on that. So, and then when students get back on campus, I'm going to be more outward-facing representative of the USC. So, I'm going to try and be like out and about with going to all the events and like interacting with students as much as possible. And I also just sort of like have like the oversight of like the resources and also the strategy and the direction that the executive team is going. But obviously, like, this is a team and we do everything in conjunction. Yeah. So, what I have been up to. So, transition. So, many of you know we completed our transition. We officially took over office on June 1st. Transition was really great. I think I can speak for everyone when I say we had really valuable learning experiences from the executive, from the staff, from alumni. So it was really great meeting with everybody. And we had a lot of, personally I can say I met with a lot of our campus partners right away, which is why we were lucky enough to have such great relationships, as you guys saw today with Lynn and Leslie being able to join us today. So it's been really great. And then another big part of our transition, which took us quite a bit of time, was our executive roadmap. So we got together and basically brainstormed our initiatives, and it was facilitated by Nick Sove and Jeff Himlat, two of our senior managers. So we sort of hashed out all of our initiatives that we have planned and our projects that we wanted to do, and then narrowed it down into priorities and sort of the direction that we'd like to go as an executive. So that was a big part of our transition. Yeah, so then now we've taken over. So admin relations, sorry. So I'm obviously working closely with a lot of stakeholders on the Rochdale file, which has really been a silver lining of that thing is that we have gotten to build really great relationships with a lot of like high-level university administrators. So it's given us sort of a window to bring on other topics, so we have sort of that relationship right off the bat. As many of you know, Dr. Alan Shepard has taken over as president of the university, so him and I have met a couple times, and I'm extremely optimistic about his term. He's made it very clear that he really intends on being extremely student-facing and being extremely involved in student life on campus. And him and I are continuing to meet throughout the summer and then early into September to sort of give student opinions on certain files and also express how he can connect better with students around this campus. He's coming from Concordia in Montreal, which is quite a different atmosphere than we have here at Western. So we're hoping to work with him as much as possible, but I'm extremely optimistic about his term. And yeah, there's just a great sense of like a great working relationship with all of them. The other thing I've been working a lot on is Purple Fest in Rochdale, as I mentioned in the last one. If you have any more questions, we can answer those at the end of this. Alumni, again, as I mentioned in my presentation yesterday, but just sort of to rehash, we've been networking a lot with, trying to build our network of alumni sort of to create a potential like mentorship program, and we have the potential to connect counselors with alumni if they're interested. So if any of you are interested, please let me know, and we can try and connect you with the relevant alumni. And we're also going to be having more like interactions with alumni hopefully in the near future. So shadowing opportunity is something I mentioned. One thing we've noticed is there's a lot of sort of, it's not really very clear about what the executives actually do with their time, and we really want to be as transparent as possible and show students what we do all day. So what we're trying to do is create an executive shadowing program. It's also going to help a little bit, hopefully, engage students who are looking to maybe run in an election or like run for one of the executive positions. So what we're going to do, hopefully, we're trying to flesh this out in the next couple of weeks, is open it up first to counselors, associates, coordinators to sort of see if gauge the interest there for first semester, and then once the school year begins, open it up to the students at large if it seems like there's interest and if we all have enough time. Just sort of pilot program, just see how it works. President's Council, this is something I've spoken to with I think most, if not all, faculty and affiliate presidents. It's something that used to happen like quite regularly, like on a monthly basis, but has now recently turned into more of like just like a as call thing, and I want to bring it back to a routine monthly meeting where all the faculty presidents and faculty and affiliate presidents and myself get together and just quite informal, just discuss like what's going on respectively in our portfolios, see if there's any ways to collaborate, get to know each other also a little bit better, so everyone feels comfortable. Like for example, if Social Sci wants to do an event with Kings, they know exactly who to go to, and they have sort of that direct relationship. And also so there's a little more transparency in what the executive is doing with the faculty councils. Just adding to that, one thing I'm like really going to try to do this year is attend as many faculty council meetings as possible. So if you could all please send me the schedules for those, that would be really, really great. Advocacy. So again, Kat's the lead on this, so you'll hear this a lot. I'm telling people I'm the lead of this because I don't want to like steal their thunder. I'm just mostly on a support role on a lot of these. So I'm supporting Kat on a lot of the advocacy she's doing with the focuses again on gender-based violence, employment, financial aid, and sustainability. So USC elections. So again, working with Declan to review bylaw 2 and see how we can sort of refresh it a little bit, and promotion and engagement of our students is again a huge priority. Seeing like a 24% turnout on like an existential year like last year was quite disappointing. So I want to see if we can raise that quite a bit. And again, I'm going to need everybody's help for that. So please. Also, something that's not mentioned in this is our federal Get Out to Vote campaign, which Kat and Nico, I believe, are going to talk about. So we have a great sort of plan in place to go forward with that one. Student choice. So yeah, so focusing on working to show the value to students. As I said before, big issue about what we've done in the past is that we know we provide the value, we just haven't really shown it. So as Nico's going to mention with the USC branding, we're really trying to increase like our presence in the daily lives of our students. So as that Declan's worked really well on the fees and the whole process. So he's worked with the registrar quite closely to get us to a place where we're very happy with the system. And Nico's been working on the communication side of that. And then athletics. So athletics has reached out because they've seen like obviously quite a bit of drop in attendance recently and the school spirit, and they're hoping to sort of revitalize the program. So we've been speaking quite closely with the athletics director and the AVP student experience on this. So they've wanted to see if the USC could partner with Mustangs on a bit of promotional stuff, maybe do like a USC night at like the football game or something like that. So we're still in, again, the very early stages of this, but we think it's a good way to sort of get the USC name out there to a lot of students and alumni, while also helping Mustangs get a bit more support out there and build on that purple pride we all know and love. So that's the end of mine, and I'll pass it on to Kat. I'll just keep my
Oh, do you have the work cut up? Like, not such. That's okay, I got it.
My computer's not good enough.
Hello, everyone. Alrighty, so since Bardia did a really quick overview of his role, I will do that as well to help clarify kind of what we do on the day-to-day. Leader. So in the vice president's portfolio, I lead the advocacy for our organization, so mostly working with external stakeholders at the federal, provincial, and municipal as well as university level. So Bardia and I and our entire team, I would say, collaborate on the university file because so many parts of our portfolios are moving parts that require the university's support, or we can do a lot more when we're working collaboratively. But definitely the external advocacy initiatives is what I spend a lot of my time doing. I meet with a lot of different members of parliament, members of provincial parliament, and city councillors and mayors. So lots of fun. And also policy development. So if you're a nerd like me, I'm always happy to chat about how we can recommend best practices to fix problems we're seeing. Great. Alrighty, we can go to the next slide. Alrighty, so for the team, so I hired my 3 associates. So they are Associate University Affairs is Pranjan Gandhi, Associate Municipal you heard from earlier is Mackenzie sitting over there in the gallery, and then my Associate Provincial and Federal Affairs is Maham Riemann, and I'm super excited to have them, as well as my coordinator Matthew Parkin for Recognition and Awards Coordinator. It's going to be a really great year. Everybody is super qualified and ready to get to work. And I've already sat down with all 3 of my associates because they lead kind of the larger parts of my portfolio to discuss our goals for the year and how we can work together to be as effective as we can. As well as I wanted to give a quick shout out to Akash and Mackenzie as they are both advocacy research interns this summer, and a lot of the work that we're doing on the advocacy file would not be possible without them. They do a lot of really great research for us. And then also, since my role next year will be changing, how it will be elected internally by council, I'm very happy to collaborate with you folks on advocacy initiatives. I know that that's dear and near to a lot of your hearts. So if you ever want to meet with me to discuss possible new directions for our advocacy to go in, I'm more than happy to do that. Alrighty, University Affairs. Okay, so as part of our platform, Bardia and I outlined kind of having like a better career central. So we're super happy that right now the university is rolling out Connect at Western U. So it's connect.uwo.ca. And this is essentially like an experiential learning database. So it's replacing Career Central. So we're super excited about that. Student Experience has been doing a lot of really great work on the file. And it's rolling out slowly over the summer. So it was a soft launch in July. And once most of those components are actually released, we're going to do a joint press release with Student Experience. So we are super excited about that. Feel free to check out the website, connect.uwo.ca, and let us know if you have feedback on that and how that can be improved, because there's a lot of really cool features we're looking at implementing. Another thing is we're super excited because under, I don't know is it on this? Okay, yeah, it actually says. So Enhanced Assess Act Acknowledge funding was probably one of the first things I kind of asked the university for funding for when we were going through our transition. In May, Bardia and myself sat down with the provost, Andy, as well as sat down with the AVP student experience, Jenny, and said we need funding for this program. And this program is essentially the only evidence-based sexual violence prevention program that is proven to reduce incidents of rape for first-year girls by 50%, almost 50%. So super, super cool, and we got funding for it. So we're gonna see that roll out, led by student experience, come the fall, and we're hoping that we can work with Danielle Carr, who's the sexual violence prevention education coordinator, in order to roll that out into a course for years to come, but that's kind of more long-term. Obviously, we went through the women's policy paper today, so and I think Mac did a great job at doing an overview of that, so I won't go into too much detail. Currently working on our university budget submission, so we typically submit 3 priorities to ask for funding for the year from the university, so we're working on that, and once we have those finalized, we'll be sharing that with council. Women's only hours have been secured for the next year. So right now they are going to be in continuing in the second studio on the 4th floor of the rec center. So if you have feedback from your constituents, we would love to hear it. And the rec center is also working with us to purchase athletic hijabs so that students can rent those out and use them at any place in the university so they don't like move when you're doing a lot of movement. So we're super excited with that, and we're consulting with the Muslim Students Association now to figure out exactly which ones we want to buy. And then we're also working with the rec center on trans-positive programming, and we're going to continue consulting with Ally and Pride to figure out exactly what that's going to look like, and obviously with the new LGBTQ2+ subcommittee, if your constituents have feedback, this is a great place to do that. Residence, my favorite place. So we we met with them to discuss their up and out policy with regards to sexual violence reporting and some problems with it. And they are going to be transparent on their website about all of the different interim measures that residents can take so that survivors know if they go to an RA or a DON currently what that might look like so that they're prepared and it's not catching them off guard, as well as kind of like, why would you go to residence? Like, residents can move the respondent in a sexual violence case like without a full investigation, those types of things, so students know their resources and can Google them, because we know that it can be really, really hard to share an experience if you have gone through an experience of gender-based violence. And finally, I touched on this a little bit earlier, but working with the university to figure out what we want to do with our endowment that is created by student donations, as it's obviously a very turbulent time for affordability on campus right now, and working to see if we can withdraw any more money for the coming years to support students in the form of grants. Alrighty, so that's the high overview of what I'm doing on the University Affairs file. We'll flip to provincial. No worries. Cool, amazing. So at the beginning of June, I was elected president of the Ontario Undergraduate Student Alliance, which was super exciting, so allowing me to lead some of the strategic directions that our provincial file will go through the next year. So some of the things that I've been working on is I've been working to expand our partnerships with different advocacy groups that align with USA's strategic priorities for the year. So I'm just gonna jump a couple bullet points to our 4 strategic priorities that USA decided at our strategic planning conference. So those are the things that we will prioritize advocating to members of provincial parliament on. So the first one is student financial aid. So we decided to take a hard stance on that and saying that we really think that these changes to OSAP need to be reversed as they're having significant and detrimental impacts to our students. The second one is student mental health. So some of the recommendations that we put forward were recognizing post-secondary students as a unique cohort, providing funding to community-based mental health providers to supply culturally relevant and diverse counseling in the community, and finally providing funding to assess effective mental health strategies. The third one was preparing students for the workforce. So we want to have investments in the Career Readiness Fund to increase the amount of experiential learning opportunities available as well as creating a best practice model for skills articulation. As we know, there's a skills articulation gap for many of our new university grads. And finally, it will come as no surprise to anyone that one of them is sexual violence prevention and response. So amending the policy that requires each university to have a policy to actually include survivor-centric legislation, saying that it has to be certain metrics of the policy, adapting and the terms of reference for the Women's Safety Grant, as well as increasing funding so that it's more centered around gender-based violence initiatives specifically, and as well as ensuring that campus security are trained in survivor-centric responses to disclosures and the prevention of sexual violence, as we do know that those are the people that are most often intervening. Jumping back to my second point, so we're working to expand partnerships for different organizations that have a stake in these initiatives. So working with CWIL, so it's Canadian, I don't know what the E stands for, I can't remember, Work Integrated Learning, working with the Business Higher Education Roundtable, the Ontario Coalition for Rape Crisis Centers, to form really great collaborations, as well as reaching out to other student unions who may be looking to join USA. I've been meeting with members of provincial parliament in our riding and nearby ridings, as well as the critic for training colleges and universities, Chris Glover, with the NDP. And we have set up a meeting with Kathleen Wynne, and we are working to set up a meeting with Ross Romano. We've heard back from his office, so we're hoping we can schedule one soon, who is the new Minister of Training Colleges and Universities from the Cabinet Shuffle. I met with eCampus Ontario to talk about experiential learning and how they can support us in that. And campaigns. So I mentioned yesterday that USA also decided on a couple of the campaigns they would be running on the ground that you can get involved with, and one of them will be our OSAP campaign in September and experiential learning in the winter. So lots on the USA file. It's super exciting. Just another quick note, the Cabinet Shuffle did shift around some things for USA. So we had a couple meetings with different MPPs and ministers planned, and it changed. So we're working on getting those ministers now that there's different people in those positions. And the last one is hashtag OSAP story. So this is a collaboration primarily with Nico in order to highlight the impact that the changes to OSAP are having on our students. So we've been collecting stories, and we have a survey that I believe is still out. Is it still out? Yeah, it's still open. So if your constituents want to answer it, where they can kind of say like, what was their OSAP assessment last year? What is it this year? And what impact does that have? Because we do know that politicians are more likely to listen to quantitative data, but also those really impactful stories. So if you know somebody that's impacted, I'd really, really encourage you to pass that along. All right, federally. So the federal body that we do most of our advocacy through is the Undergraduate Canadian Research Intensives Universities Coalition, and that chair was elected. Her name is Christina, and she's the VP External at UBC. The second one that has been keeping us busy is the Get Out the Vote strategy. So you will find with campaigns, Nico and I collaborate a lot because it kind of is overlap between the comms and the advocacy. So what we are doing is we have kind of drafted a letter and are asking our UCrew schools, but also as many student unions as possible to sign on. And it's essentially calls to action that we would like to see the parties commit to over the summer before the election. And we're going to be using that criteria as kind of saying, like, what are the parties going to do to support you, so that it's kind of giving all parties a chance to commit to something, but we can also help our students be the most informed voters that they can be. I met with the CRO of London North Centre, and he is looking for youth community relations liaisons. So if you're interested in being really involved with the federal election, let me know. It would be a nonpartisan position, and you wouldn't necessarily be taking it on as your USC role, but a really cool opportunity if you're interested in working with Elections Canada. And I believe that's paid as well. So come talk to me if you want to get involved with that. And then I also got invited to a Canada Training Benefit consultation. So that was really cool, looking at how can we create time off work and funding in order for our students, once they graduate, to continuously be upskilling. And the last part of my portfolio is municipal. So Mackenzie, I was away for USA, so she was really fortunate to attend the Transportation Advisory Committee and the Housing Advisory Committees, which we hold seats on. So I've heard those were productive meetings. We're planning local advocacy week, which we're thinking right now will take place in the winter. And I met with Phil Squires, who's our Ward 6 councillor, Ed Holder, who's the mayor, and Josh Morgan, who's Ward 5, I believe. That might be wrong, don't quote me on that. To just talk about our priorities for the year. And I have scheduled a meeting with the Deputy Mayor, Jesse Helmer, to keep talking about what is our strategy for LTC going forward. And our executive, led by Bardia, did attend the community safety meeting with regards to Brofdale, and he did a really, really, really great job answering all of the questions from the folks that live in Ward 6. So yeah, that's what's going on in my portfolio. next up is the spill.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're all doing amazing. I know it's kind of like a after lunch lull right now, but we're almost there. So I'm not going to give you all a rundown of my portfolio because we did go through the election process with myself. So I think you guys have a really good understanding of what I do, and if you don't, I'm always available to take emails, calls, whatever you want. So I'll just get into it. So let's start with my year priorities and goals. So I just thought I should update a little bit more specific on what I would like to accomplish this year, aside from the amazing executive roadmap that we had. So I really want to enhance the orientation program for the next year to include more representation and community building for different communities on campus that aren't just residents and faculty specific. Obviously, Kat is doing a lot with women's safety after that policy paper that was just passed today. But I think we, first of all, need to show that we really value it on the ground. So that includes all the programming that I run, large-scale events, etc. Food literacy is something that I'm increasingly passionate about. So I've been working hard with my food support services coordinator to really prioritize food literacy and food support services this year. Peer Support Center, I think, is going to be in a really great place this year. We are enhancing the program, so we're trying to grow the Peer Support Center into an effective network with the peer programs, making sure that we do have mental health supports for different communities on this campus. My next category is what I call is what I call miscellaneous. So all of my associates and coordinators are hired except for Gender Equality Network, Public Arts, and International Student Coordinators. So those are opening up very soon. So if you have any friends who may be interested, please tell them to keep an eye out and apply. I held a transition day in the office with each associate, and then I transitioned all of my coordinators and the student writer in residence, who also lies under my portfolio. As of right now, you can probably see on Facebook and Instagram that a lot of my coordinators are hiring their committees. So if any of your friends are interested in joining any of the committees, tell them to keep an eye out. I'm creating a coordinator handbook for event planning logistics, which will have to do with room bookings, budgeting, etc. And then I also have created, sorry, I'm just trying to figure out this mic thing here. It's kind of tall, but then it blocks my screen. I'm also creating budget templates for all my coordinators as well. We are also, as an executive, working for professional development for coordinators and associates. So at the USC, we really believe that we're here to enhance the student experience and to make sure student leaders have different opportunities. So as you can probably tell, one of our focuses for this year is mentorship. Kat and I are working on bringing free menstrual products into the UCC, so there's more to come for that. I also chair the Purple Fest Logistics Committee, so we focused on safety measures, site plans, security, and then also some fun stuff like inflatables, etc. Orientation. Next slide, please. Thank you. Orientation. So if any of you are SOFs, you'll probably know that we had the LST retreat weekend and then also the SOF retreat weekend, and those were quite successful. We are rolling out the SOF subsidy soon, so please let any of your SOF friends know. We have a $7,000 fund within the USC that's meant to help support SOFs if they have any financial barriers to the program. We're working on orientation communications, so Nico and I are working hard on that, along with Kat and Beth, my charity orientation coordinator, to make sure that students understand that the USC is an integral part in the program, once again focusing on that branding for ourselves. The USC is also providing the SOF care station this year, which is really exciting. And then we also made the orientation budget, as you saw as well. In terms of headliners, so the EDM and the concert headliners have been confirmed and announcements are to come, and we're currently working on the One Love speakers. Something that I really wanted to mention to this council, because it was a motion that came to council, that came to last year's council, was the mental health motion. So I am working in consultation right now with CMHA and also Active Minds to sort of bring the video that we were talking about to fruition for either opening or closing ceremonies. And Active Minds and myself are also working hard to put together a resource map for the OKIDs as well. In terms of peer programs, Noah, my Pride Western coordinator, who was sitting here earlier today, is working on a name change brochure, a preferred name change brochure, sorry. And then you might have heard me mention earlier that we created a new coordinator position, the International Student Coordinator, which will be very exciting. So we felt that international student advocacy was one of the gaps inside the USC. So we really hope that this coordinator position will help keep us accountable to that. So that will be hired soon as well. If you were around on campus, you might have saw the Out in the Sun event. That was sort of our Pride kickoff event for Western. And then next week is the London Pride Parade. So I sit on the Pride Planning Events Committee as well. So I help plan those events. And then we are also working on assessing allyship training currently to make sure that it's ready for the school year. Perfect. So peer support. There are some changes coming in the Peer Support Center. So we're working with a company called the Ontario Peer Development Initiative, and we are sort of changing the structure of our training for the volunteers. That will be happening at the end of August. We decided to do summer hampers for food support services because there was a lot of requests on social media for the service to be run over the summer. So my food support services coordinator worked really hard on getting some volunteers together for the summer. And then my last little bit is about programming. So the early outreach conference was in May and it was quite successful. Then I also developed the SPO budget, which we saw earlier today. I traveled to Toronto to meet with different talent agencies in regards to concerts, keynote speakers, and other events as well. So if any of you are interested in literally anybody, please let me know. I would love to hear more ideas. My inbox is always open. Currently, I'm in the process of planning with FAM, TriSci, and then also the HBK affiliates in order to plan different concerts, Nuit Violette, Beer Fest, Purple Frost. And then my last little point is that Enviro Western planted a cute little garden, so go check that out. I think it's near the greenhouses. Cool, thank you.
Hi everyone. As you know, Declan Hodgins, Secretary Treasurer. You all probably know what I do, but to recap it, I basically do finance, governance, club system, and I kind of do the student end of the health and dental plan. You can go to the next slide. One of the interesting things about my role, and it's kind of unique among the executives, is that I'm not just a part of the executive, I'm also actually an officer of council in the sense that I'm both the secretary and treasurer of council. So I do want to really highlight that I am here not just as part of the executive, but also as a resource to all the people here when you want help, especially with financial things or governance-based things. And with that, let's go into my update. I've hired my portfolio. Very big expansion. Last year, the Secretary portfolio had 2 associates and 1 coordinator, and now there's 3 associates and 5 coordinators. So it's a substantially larger portfolio now that the club system and also the income tax clinic have both been added. And I just want to highlight that I've got a fantastic team working with me to help make things happen. My associates, I've had them all in the office. They're fantastic people. My clubs associate Noah is a former club president, and my associate governance Jack and my associate finance Ryan were both former counselors. So they're all fantastic resources for you. Next slide. So one of the big things I spent a lot of time on, of course, is the student choice initiative and how we're responding to that. The things I really want to get across to you is that we are where we need to be right now at this point in time. So we've got MOUs signed with the university and with all the affiliate administrations. And I want to really recognize that both Bardia and Nico especially were just fantastic supports in that for me, so I really appreciate their help. And additionally, we've been just getting all of our financial contingencies in order so that we're ready to respond in a robust way once we start getting some opt-out numbers in. I also want to kind of go into general finance. I help with the orientation budget, obviously. I also want to say that we're in the middle of audit right now, and the reason that's important is I just want to highlight that we have the USC is actually audited every year by PwC, which is one of the top 4 leading audit firms in the world, actually. And I just want to really highlight just how fantastic we're reminded every year that our accounting department is. And it really is it's a great use of our money because it means that you can really trust the financial statements that you get. The final thing I want to say is, just generally speaking, I don't want to go into too much detail, but in all of our business units, our financial position is exactly where we need it to be right now. Going into clubs, we've been preparing for Clubs Week and clubs training in September. Another thing, I want to just welcome 22 new clubs that were ratified last year and that are going to be joining us this September. It's an awesome addition to our club system, and I'm really excited to have them join us. And this year, for the first time, we are giving all new clubs a small startup grant because it can be very taxing on club executives to have to dip into their own pockets to buy supplies for Clubs Week. So all new clubs this year are getting a small grant to help get them going, and that's a new initiative we're doing. And we've also rolled out for the first time a food policy handbook for to help clubs navigate USC's food policy regime. And then next slide. Finally, I just want to talk about Campus Trust. So in June, I went to the Campus Trust all participating organizations meeting. It was in St. John's. I was actually elected as a trustee on the Campus Trust Board of Trustees, along with our Senior Manager of Commercial Partnerships, Nico, who's also a trustee. We've established two really big priorities for us this year, and I want you to hold me accountable for this, quite frankly. Our two big priorities are, the USC right now is one of 12 schools, but we are actually 50% of all students, actually 56% of all students in Campus Trust. And despite that, we actually are not in a position right now where we're guaranteed any seats, and it's possible that next year we might have none of the 10 seats on the board. And I've committed to changing that, and I'm working with the Campus Trust Board right now to secure us a minimum of 2 guaranteed seats on the board. We're also working really hard to improve the governance at Campus Trust. And we're progressing towards an eventual shift to a self-funded model under Campus Trust, which will give us a very, very robust and cost-effective program. And I just want to highlight how fantastic the value we get with Campus Trust is, because it really, really is a fantastic program we're a part of. One thing on a bit of a less happy note, there have been some changes that we're making to the health and dental plan. There's 2 things that have happened. There's been increased utilization of our health and dental plans substantially, largely driven by the government's changes to OHIP+. And also the failed referendum has limited our ability to raise fees to the amount that we'd like to. So as a result, we have had to make some small adjustments to our health and dental plan to keep them fiscally sustainable. I want to highlight these are relatively minor and that the service you're going to get is still going to be fantastic. But we have had to reduce eyewear coverage to $100. And we've also had to reduce dental diagnostic and preventative coverage to only 80%. However, on a brighter note, we have added one of our most requested services to add. We added psychotherapy coverage to the health plan. So that is actually a big victory for us. We don't like it when we have to cut things. We try and make it the least impactful, but sometimes we have to keep us from running into a fiscally unsustainable position. And we are doing the best that we can on this. So anyhow, thank you.
Hey folks, so I'll give the update for the communications portfolio, of course. And before I start, I just want to say I'm sensing and reading the room that maybe the way that we're presenting the exec reports isn't the most efficient way that we could be doing so for you. And I know that everyone's tired and we're at the end of a meeting. We're going to look to review this in the future, and if you have any feedback on a better way, because these updates are really important because you need to hold us accountable and you need to know what we're doing in our portfolios, but if there's a better way to get this information to you where you can ask questions that you think are relevant and more topical, then please give us that feedback so that we can improve this process in September, and we're going to talk as a team afterwards to try to make that happen as well. And just to note, we will provide this presentation by email in the coming days as a PDF so that you have access to it, and you can always reach out to us if you have any questions. So my portfolio, we'll start with an overview of my role really quickly. A lot of people think that comms is just like marketing and social media. I actually do very little of those 2 things. We've seen a shift in my portfolio over the past few years, and we're continuing on this track that the comms officer is responsible for strategic communications, public relations. I really consider myself like the 5th executive that kind of helps out with all the other files and tries to put the pieces together. My role doesn't really exist on a lot of other in a lot of other campuses, but I think that I hope that that my work strengthens our executive because I'm able to kind of tie together and manage a lot of the relationships both internally and with our external stakeholders. A couple things that I do that are really big are branding and partnerships, and again, strategic executive support. Like Declan, my portfolio has grown significantly this year. So we used to have, the numbers are actually the same, but we have elevated 2 of the former coordinators to associate, so that's going to give my portfolio a lot more strength in the number of hours that student staff are able to work, and hopefully be improving the development opportunity for those staff as well. So high-level goals, I'm not going to go one by one here, but like very broadly, we've talked about this all weekend. Students need to know what the USC is, who we are, and what they do. Every undergraduate student should know that. They should know what the acronym stands for, and that we are here to represent their best interests and provide relevant programs and services that enhance their student experience or enhance their educational experience and quality of life. Students need to know, furthermore, when they're interacting with the USC, we've talked about this as well, you shouldn't be able to grab a bagel at the Spoke without knowing that that experience was provided by the student union. That, of course, ties into the reality that we're living in a student choice era. Something else that's really important in my portfolio, as was mentioned by Bardia, is student feedback, which we would have seen in the roadmap as well, building out those capabilities. Moving forward to the areas of focus. So these are the things that I've broadly been spending my time on. Brofdale Communications is a huge one. The branding initiative has been big. Obviously, student choice. It's really hard to describe what I do because I really just kind of take the strategic and communications piece of everyone else's portfolio. So I never really am existing in a silo, and I think that's really important that Bardia and I kind of share a role in trying to coordinate what the other three portfolios are doing, which have like much more defined responsibilities and outcomes. And then, like I said, student feedback capabilities is something that we're working on as well. Publications and touch points, I just wanted to highlight some of the things that we've already been doing. While we don't have a defined brand strategy built out yet, we're working on that. It's not like we're sitting around and doing nothing in the summer. During summer academic orientation, every single day, we ran a welcome center in the Wave. So we saw like well over 1,000, probably about 1,500 incoming students and their families, and started to preach the good news of the USC and of student government on campus in general. We were in the Gazette for the SIO edition and the SIO handbook. We're in the Western Student Handbook. We're currently working to revitalize the key messages in the tour route for campus tours, and of course the executive roadmap was a really big initiative that was a team project, but that my portfolio really led in ensuring that it was available for you today. And then the last thing, I'm not going to go line by line here, but this will be something for you to look at on your own when this presentation is shared. Something that is really important to me, and this was kind of speaks to Councillor Carlson's question about metrics. Getting out in the media and like sharing the good news of the USC is something that we need to be doing a lot more of, and that's kind of the direction that I've gotten from Bardia and that our team has agreed upon. So you'll notice that these are the news stories so far in the summer that we've been directly featured in. So they're the ones that one of our executives have been quoted in, and they're all largely positive. I would highlight the coverage that we got on the OSAP story. Global News picked it up. CTV video in London, which has a viewership of over 300,000 people. It was the top story, the top story on the night that it ran. We were in the second page of the London Free Press. We are working really, really hard to get out there, and so far our communications externally has been really positive. And a broad priority of mine is to get students, show the community both on campus and in London that students have a lot to offer, and that we are not just people that are partying on Brofdale, that we're doing a lot of great things that are working on our student development and are and enhancing the community. I think Bardia is working to interject.
Yeah, just to kind of speak to that, I think Kat mentioned that we were at a community safety meeting, which was like very largely about the unsanctioned street party on Brofdale, and like even from the one we had like 3 months ago to the one we had like a couple weeks ago, the tone is significantly shifting, and I think a big part of it is due to these media stories that we're getting out. Like community members are starting to realize we're not just all raging alcoholics on Brofdale, so it's doing well.
So that's broadly my update. Like I said, we're going to work on presenting this in a way that hopefully is a little bit easier for you to digest. I think my sense is that maybe we'll provide these updates with a little bit more text in advance of the meeting so that you have time to review, and then you can maybe do a high-level update, like 5 minutes each, and then you can ask questions. So if that sounds good to people, maybe give me a thumbs up or nod, and then we'll work on improving this moving forward. And if you have any specific ideas, super happy to hear them. I was a counselor a couple of years ago, so I get it. We do usually have time for questions here. So if anyone has any specific questions for any of us, usually we would do it by portfolio. But if you have questions for any of us, okay, we have 3 minutes for questions, if anyone has them.
Councillor Morrison, Huron President. So questions for Declan. You noted that there's maybe like a grant system for clubs.
Oh, sorry, the Secretary Treasurer had to step out.
Listen, I have a question. Okay. Well, I just wanted to know, how is that decided? Does everyone just get like $20 or?
My understanding is that it's for new clubs, so the 22 clubs that were just ratified. I don't know the amount, but Declan definitely knows the amount, and he can get that information to you.
Okay.
And it's
Afterwards.
uniform across all clubs. Or all the clubs.
Hassan Ali, science counselor. I know you said that we'd be getting the presentation sometime soon for the exec reports.
Yep.
Would there be any way for the next meeting in September that we could get them beforehand? Because I personally cannot read any of the things on there from my distance. That just might be my eyesight, but
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly what I was just saying. We're gonna
Okay.
strive to switch this process up a little bit so that you
Okay.
have them in advance, so that you can follow
Okay.
along. And better yet, if we put the effort in on our side, hopefully you guys put the effort in on your side too, to do your due diligence in advance, read it. You can even send us questions in advance so that we can prepare information. So if you're like, oh, I want a metric on this, and you give us 3 or 4 days to do it, then we might be able to bring that answer to you at council.
okay, awesome, thank
That
you.
works. Cool.
Alright, is there any other questions on these reports? Okay,
Councilor
next
Carlson.
we're
Thanks,
going
guys.
to move on to the Board of Directors Chairperson report, so thank you, Zach, for those. Alright, so it doesn't look like we have anybody coming for that report, so we can move right on to the Advocacy Standing Committee report.
Point of information. I think there is a board report. I don't know if anyone wants to read it, but I think it was an appendix link in the agenda.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah, I just need to find it.
yeah, sorry, that was my mix up. Thank you for that. Yeah, I'll just read that then. Sorry for that.
1 second, I just need to find it.
Alright, so this is their update. So the Board of Directors held their yearly summer retreat during the weekend of July 5th, along with the President, Secretary, Treasurer, and members of the USC senior leadership team. The board held a board meeting, attended a training session on financial literacy, received an update on the USC response to the SCI, and participated in a case exercise. Highlights from the board meeting are included below, and Nicholas Waltenbury has been elected vice chair of the board for 2019-2020. The board approved the governance committee's amended board chair and vice chair election procedure, providing a formalized process for the future. The board approved the HR committee's updated board evaluation template and will be administering the survey in the upcoming year. The board completed a review of the USC's risk register for 2019-2020. And resignation of the director. The board has been notified by Anthony Lee of his intention to resign as the director, as he will be attending another university for the upcoming school year. Hiring of a replacement director will take place in September, and a board nominations committee will be struck at that time. In the interim, the chair of the board will serve in Anthony's place as the chair of the finance committee. Yeah.
So I'll just speak to this just for 10 seconds. So we had our BOCO retreat, and so just with Tony's resignation, we're gonna be looking to hire a new director for a 1-year term, because directors are usually hired on a 2-year term. So we're looking to have one just for the year. So I think that application is gonna go out in September. I'm not sure if counselors are actually eligible to run, just because I don't think so, just because of conflicts of interest. But we're gonna need help with the promotion of that. And yeah, they were really happy with everything that we're doing. There was really nothing contentious at those retreats, and that's it.
Okay, awesome. Thanks. So now we'll move on to the advocacy standing committee report.
Hi everyone. I'll keep it short. So we met over Skype a couple weeks ago, and we passed all 3 motions that you guys saw go through council floor today. A lot of the meeting was spent talking with Kat and Mackenzie about the women's safety policy paper. And I just want to say again, really, really amazing job on that. The committee worked through any things that we had issues with. They immediately addressed them, and we were happy to pass that along. Another big thing that happened at our committee meeting, unfortunately, Councillor Ficarini isn't here anymore, but he's been messaging me with his initiative to do a sustainability checklist, which essentially is for any new councillors coming in to be able to make sure that any USC events are sustainable and that we're having sustainable practices. So the committee gave him our blessing. We said, yep, go ahead, do that. So he's still in preliminary stages of research. He's been in contact with Cecilia so that he can talk to EnviroWestern and coordinators like that so that they can get collaboration going. And then once the checklist has been completed, I believe we'll bring it to council for then to be approved. But right now they're still in the prelim stages. If you want to help with that, or if you have any questions about that, I would direct you to Zamir. He's really good at answering on Facebook, so that shouldn't be a problem. We had a really good session yesterday of goal setting. There was not many of us here, even less now that Zamir's gone, but the 4 of us had a really great chat and got a lot done, and we're really excited to see what the year has in store.
Awesome. Thank you, Kelsey. Alright, is anybody interested in speaking on behalf of the Governance and Finance Committee since Pat's not here? If nobody's comfortable, that's okay. We can put an extra on that date next time. But I figured if anybody was comfortable. Okay, awesome.
Okay, I'll just give a really quick overview of kind of what we've been up to. So I think the big priority for us is goal setting and doing a complete review of our operations and financial policies and governance for the USC. And hopefully we want that done in the upcoming future. And yeah, and then we'll be looking forward to a great year together.
Awesome, thank you. Councilor Morrison from Student Experience.
Hello everyone, I'll keep this brief. So the Standing Committee on Student Experience met on July 6th, and we discussed a number of motions that were put forward to Council today. Just to give Council an update, to expand on what the Student Programming Officer was talking about, there was a motion that had been referred to committee from the previous Council about mental health support during through the orientation program. And we decided that it would be best after meeting with key stakeholders to leave that responsibility to the communities of practice within the orientation program that are dedicated to working on those issues. And that recommendation received the support of the Student Programming Officer. Additionally, in our goal setting session yesterday, we talked a lot about instead of doing program reviews in the traditional sense, we've decided to spend time working with programs and USC services to find ways to better increase the access and awareness of students across Western about those, working with the associates and coordinators to ensure that students are in a sense getting the biggest bang for their buck and knowing what is out there and available for them, and drafting a list of recommendations on how that can be approved and presenting them to council and the specific people that are in charge of running those organizations. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Alright, so we're now going to move on to the board discussion section. Are there any items for discussion? Alright, so I don't see any, so we're going to move on. Are there any objections? Alright, I don't see any. Okay, now we'll move on to new business. Are there any time-sensitive items for new business? Yeah, just check the mic. Yep, Councilor Morrison.
Hi, Councilor Morrison here on President, excuse me. And I just wanted to propose a motion to just basically say that we as USC body, like, we acknowledge that the executive reports and their roadmap essentially outline some goals for them, and then so just to keep all parties accountable, we can have a little a check-in, and this is the motion that we've drafted. You want to just take a read?
And did you want to speak in favor of this, or sorry, did you want to speak to this motion?
No, I think it speaks for itself. It's pretty just procedural.
Yeah, and can I get a seconder for this motion? Alright, Councilor Campbell, and would you like to speak to this motion?
Councillor Campbell, IB Councillor. I would like to defer my speaking rights to the comms officer.
Hi, Nico, Waltenbury, comms officer. Okay, so I just wanted to briefly speak to the procedure on this because the secretary isn't here. So new business, just to be clear, is to be used for urgent, time-sensitive motions. So this is, it would be a little bit abnormal that a motion would be presented in new business, and the mover or the people interested in passing the motion need to be able to justify that it's time-sensitive, and that's what I want to do. So the reason why we would like this endorsed by council, because it seems like the sense of the room is that there was broad support for the roadmap as presented. We want it endorsed to provide more legitimacy and to allow us to present this to university admin and our external stakeholders. So we've been asked for a number of weeks by various offices at the university to present our priorities to them, especially in advance of the university's budget consultations, which are coming up in the next 2 weeks, which is why this is time sensitive and can't wait until the September meeting of council. If you do, as council, support the roadmap as presented, then we would appreciate your endorsement for the reasons in the whereas that were listed there. But typically, we want to be clear, this is the new business section is not to be used to present a motion that you thought of while you were sitting in council. It is for time-sensitive matters that couldn't have been presented in advance of council.
Are there any questions on this motion? Yep,
Councillor Carlson, King Councillor. So just to clarify the motion, if we have additional feedback on points in the roadmap, can we still bring those to you, or us endorsing this, does that mean it's sort of finalized?
Councillor Morrison, here on present. I'd like to defer my speaking rights to Nico.
Yeah, it's a great question. So the way that the motion is written as an endorsement, it's just like a broad endorsement. So we would treat this the same way that we would with a policy paper, and that, like, think of the priorities as the PCRs. Like, those are the high-level things that you would be endorsing and supporting if you vote in favor. But things like the graphics, the design, clerical things, if there's different body text that you want changed, all of that can be changed. It's just what we would like you to do, if you actually agree, is to endorse the spirit of the document.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions on this motion? Okay, seeing no other questions, we'll move to debate. Are there any points of debate on this motion? Yep, President Jalayer.
Just for, I guess, speaking in favor, I think that's how I should phrase it, but just going to put out there that just as this is a massive conflict of interest, Vice President Dunne and I will be abstaining from this.
All right, so seeing no other points of debate, are there any objections to this motion? All right, seeing no objections, we'll now call the question. So polls are now open, please vote. Okay, anyways, 3, 2, 1, polls are now closed. And the motion passes, but not unanimously, so please applaud. Okay, is there any other items for new business? All right, so seeing no other items for new business, I would terminate the meeting. Are there, oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I was just gonna say, are there any objections to terminating?
Nice one, Councillor Carlson.
Okay, so seeing no objections to terminating, I terminate this meeting. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you all so much for coming. It means a lot to us to have you guys all here.